Hi everyone, welcome to Commissioner Wilson's virtual office hours.
Hello. We're not in the office.
Yeah, we took a little detour. Commissioner, where are we?
We are actually at SeaWorld's headquarters and rescue operation.
Yeah, I'm so excited to take a tour and bring you all with us. Hannah, what are you excited about?
I'm excited to see some animal rescue and see how they rehabilitate, because it seems like it's quite a process and pretty important. So I'm excited for that.
And we're hoping to learn a little bit and then share it with you all.
Awesome. So come on, let's go on this tour.
This is where it all starts, and this is rough looking, but this is a working area. We've got stuff going on in the back right now. We're working through some transport stuff going on. We've got turtles over here, and we're 68 turtles in. We've got manatees everywhere you can possibly look. I've got a manatee somewhere. And we're gonna turn the corner and you're gonna see my emergency pools that just got filled with water that are cycling for their second day. I get my third day and I can start throwing animals in. And this is how you make an emergency pool system. So you turn around and say, build me an emergency pool. Here's how we build it.
Oh my God, these are your emergency pools.
Yeah, take over the parking lot. It's real simple.
Emergency room. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's a parking lot emergency room.
Yeah, but you got to build a filtration plant, and this is where SeaWorld's infrastructure is different than anybody else. Everybody else in the state says I can do it, but it's going to take me a year and a half.
Cow.
That's 1 month of around-the-clock work by my pump shops
Holy cow.
to build it up. So we had to bring a heater in, and that was a challenge. That was a big challenge because finding boilers right now is not ideal. So we brought the boiler out of Texas. We brought the heat exchanger, is that big silver thing you see standing up, out of New Jersey. Shipped them in on a Saturday, got them, have train hook them up, and yesterday we turned everything on that side of the system now that we know where our flow rates are right. People walk through sometimes and say, wow, it looks a little messy. Right now?
No, this is actually really incredibly organized looking. Like, it baffles my mind.
You have
that
no
this
idea.
would be...
For me, this is like, ugh.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't.
We need straight lines.
Yeah, I don't know what the, but yeah.
But when you take over an entire
personality,
parking lot and say, I'm going to take it all.
Yeah. You just got to figure out how to make it work. It's a puzzle.
Yeah. And we've got a road on the backside because I still got to be able to get down into my main plant with cranes. So a lot of this technically for us is pretty simple. And that sounds really wrong, but this is what we do every day of the week. If we got something, we got to build it. If there's a need for it, we're going to figure out a way to get through it. We do it in the field when we do rescues all over the world. Guys don't have cranes in the field. We don't have certain gear. All right, well, we know what we can use and we'll do. Set up pools, done. One of the things is we are putting in permanent pools, but the need was right now. So this was done fully out of SeaWorld saying the need's there. Let's get it done, get it up. 6 months, come summer, I'm gonna put permanents over there that'll take over and that plant will tie into it and we'll have a permanent for next year to continue to grow what's needed so I don't have to have this emergency set. I got to figure out where I park everything because I'm taking over the parking lots permanently. But that's how that works. That's how you grow. Now, one of the great other parts I don't think people know is, you guys know how many visitors come to our gates. We can also tell this story to every visitor that walks through, who can walk home and say, did you know the manatees are dying over in Indian River Lagoon?
Look,
here's what we've got going.
Even the fact that you're collecting your rainwater. We talked about this all day yesterday. This is how we're going to reuse our...
You understand, so we wash our parks. So our park service teams goes through and hoses down. We use reclaimed water off of our chilling system, so you have conduit water that you run it off. That's where they fill up, they take that, and that's how we hose our parks. What normally you would do on a plant is you dump water, you make more water, you add salt. Instead, we RO, so we go ahead and reverse osmosis. We pull our salts back, so we're very conscious not to have to be stripping for more salt. We put it back in our system and take the fresh water out of it to keep our salinities perfect. If I was out on the coast, it'd be a lot easier, but I'm not. I am a landlocked, isolated, man-made saltwater systems. Or how do we rebuild? How do we continue to make sure we put the right things in place to protect them? And it's not just manatees. That's what everybody's missing. We're going to see the sea turtles. The Chinook aren't in there. The bonefish aren't there. Because you've got nothing in the ecosystem right now. It's a desert running. Get it back. The water gets better, everything gets clearer, everything looks better. Top to bottom has to be perfect. You get that, and the ocean's great. Really cool things here that I'd love to talk about. You see all these cords going in. Everybody's like, man, you got a lot of light bulbs. I do, I run UV.
Yeah,
heavy UV. I don't know how much you guys know about water. Like I said, I run water plants. UV sterilization for animals is so much better than oxidants. So I get away from all the oxidants because I can use ozone on one side, bring it back down, and then run everything through sand and carbon into UV. And I don't have to use chlorines, I don't have to use acids, I don't have to use any of the over-oxidants you used to use. We're going to the next level, we're starting to use seagrass. We're actually using coastal grass and doing grass filtration. So you run the water through the root system, it strips it out naturally, it drips the salts back off its leaves, we can recollect that. We did it in Texas with our turtle out there, 300,000 gallon system, and it's been a whirlwind. What you're going to end up starting to see is this whole area becomes a rescue discussion and an environmental conservation discussion through our park. And we message that everywhere in the park, but this zone starts really building into something. Questions? I can babble.
No, but it's so interesting because it makes me really think about, we talk all the time, I think, with our residents and, you know, mostly all Floridians, and I forget that you are talking to the world that comes
That
here
is correct.
about that. And, you know, somebody who's in the Midwest who doesn't think about what's coming downstream and why they would need to give up.
Yeah, and the manatee story.
Something with microplastics or, you know, something else that you're like, no, because it all ends up.
It all ends
and it
up
doesn't
here.
go away.
Yeah. And the manatee story is really well known in Florida. It's really well known locally.
Yeah.
But it is not known nationally well at all. We've been, and Lori's been helping, we've been pushing the national side of talking this story because locally everybody knows about it. You ask anybody local, yeah, they've heard it. But if you go to New York, you go to Chicago, you go to California and you ask about it, it's really not that well known. Mm-hmm. Now when we went to Columbus and moved all the manatees up there to help make space, that went to a national story.
Right.
Then we did a release with the national story. Now all of a sudden we have national and we have worldwide starting to talk about it. You have to reach that point.
Listen, I was at the beach once when some manatees came through, and the German tourists that were there, they were so cute because they came screaming out of the water, "What are they?" And I said, "Oh, those are manatees. They're not going to hurt you," because they were, you know, it was about waist deep, and they had never seen them. They didn't. That was like it was from outer space for them. Yeah, it was a really cool thing to be able to tell them about our manatees here.
It's taken the story, but the story behind it is what's underneath the manatee. What eats, as dumb as it sounds for kids, and we work with the Eco Club, what eats the manatee's poop?
Right.
And what eats that poop?
Right,
so if you just trail it back,
exactly.
Let's see where we're at. And the problem is, without a manatee there, you don't have any of it. So you're no longer fertilizing. That's why they're called the sea cow. They eat it and they fertilize it.
I have a quick question, actually. I think you bring up a great point about Indian River Lagoon and the ecosystem as a whole. I'm kind of curious, this might be a question more for the governmental affairs side. I know there was that seagrass mitigation banking bill in the State House that was probably going to be bad for...
You're going to love my answer here.
Yeah.
I focus on rescuing, rehabilitating, and returning.
Right.
I do.
You gotta.
I say this for a reason, and it's not that I don't have Michelle who can talk to you about the government affairs side. These teams have one job to stay focused on.
Yeah. Right.
That's every
Otherwise
animal in need. Otherwise you get crazy. And there's smarter people out there working on the grass than me. I'm going to let them run that one.
Right.
I'll stay focused on this one.
You know, obviously you all play a very important role in the education side of it. So I'm kind of wondering, yeah, you know, is that, and you know, forgive me, I've only been to SeaWorld once, and it was like
25 years ago.
It was a long time ago.
Everything.
It was a long time ago.
Yes.
And so do you all include seagrass, the importance of like what you're talking about in the SeaWorld exhibits as well as that?
So
kind of
that's that naturalization talk that we're going to. How do you impact the natural environment as much as we do here? I can do it on a global stage to talk. So if you go see my dolphin show, you saw it, let's say 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It was, you know, jumping off the nose of a dolphin. It was all this really cool. Look, I did it when I was 20, but that's not today.
Right.
Today you go out there, we'll talk about the animals. We'll talk about their ecosystems. We still have fun with it. They call it how do they say it? Edutainment. That's sort of the joke that's been thrown out there, but it's the truth. A second grader does not want to hear a TED Talk. They want nothing to do with TED Talk, nor does a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
But if I can entice you to say, hey, why is there grass on their stage? Why do they have plants and rocks? Why are they talking about how the water is so important? In a fun way, you'll go home and do more. We do camps greater than probably anybody in the state of Florida.
My kids did it 2 summers in a row where they came and got to do conservation
We then
stuff.
reach in there and tell the story there, and we push it into the schools that way. So there's branches all the way across. This group here focuses on rescuing them, rehabilitating them, getting them back out.
About what's happening with the rescues and make sure that educational, that we're completing that circle in the civic lesson, rescue lesson, you know, so.
Orange County Schools, does a phenomenal job with Eco Club. Those are,
30th anniversary
yeah,
for Orange County's
yeah.
Peace.
And I'll tell you about the Eco Club real quick before I walk. Eco Club was 6 years ago. I got a phone call from my chief, Dr. Dold, who said, hey, I've got a school that reached out.
I know Erica Dold.
Yes.
It's very funny. It's this, well, District 1, right?
District
because all
1,
these
yeah.
people are, yeah.
Yeah, so Chris called and said, hey, I've got a school reaching out. It's second and third graders are growing lettuce. They want to feed your manatees. I got there, 45 minutes turned into 4 hours. 4 hours has turned into 6 years. These kids do more stuff and they built it throughout.
That's
And now
yeah.
Marcus, who started it with his teachers, and the teachers are the key there, but Marcus is now going into high school and he's taking Eco Club into high school. They can push an organic narrative that helps much larger, or they can push a narrative that doesn't help. So let's help them talk about the right things. So anyhow, thank you for all your support.
you.
As
I so
always,
appreciate
I really
it.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
So much meeting you guys.
Thank you.
Very
Yeah,
nice
have
to
a
meet
great
you.
day.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank
Brant's
you.
going to take you the rest of the way.
Our numbers are through the roof this year right now with manatees. I don't know why they're coming in. I don't know why these animals that are thin are sideways swimming. You know what? There's something going on with these guys, and I think there's other people more skilled to do the research on this. That can explain how we're taking care of them and how we're getting them out there. So, you know, because that's our number one goal is we can't house these guys very long. It shuts down our critical care
You're the
pools.
emergency
We
room doc,
need
right?
space. Yeah. It's like the hospitals when they had COVID. We need more locations to
Right.
get these guys in for rehabilitation. So, and that's what we're doing right now, and that's why those pools are going in. You know, that was a ton of work, and it's not complete yet. But when those pools get up and running, it's going to create a lot more space for these skinny guys to have that extended stay to put weight on. That's one of the things is we have this formula that the scientists, the biologists have put together. We know exactly where we need to be before they get returned on their weight gain. We can't send, even though they're healthy, we can't send the skinny ones back out there. There's no food right now for them. So, but anyways, let me show you our
Okay.
up here. This is I can talk all day. This is our biggest critical care pool. Now I call this our critical pool because the floor in here, this fiberglass floor, comes up to the surface. Okay, we have a system over there through water pressure on these 4 cylinders, and we can bring all, I think we have 9 in here, manatees up to the surface for their procedures. Immediately once they get here, that's when the care starts, the critical care, and that would mean for the first couple days probably hydration or hydrolyte, which is kind of like like a Pedialyte to get
Gatorade.
hydration back. And then if they don't start eating, then we start putting calories into these guys. Now the gruel that we tube these guys with, okay, is made up of romaine lettuce, spinach, a protein biscuit called Primate Diet, and a lot of times supplements will get in there as well. And this is just to help get the gut moving, okay? Because these are animals that are probably not eating a lot, so their system starts to shut down. So we want to make sure the gut's moving. We want to make sure we got calories going in, we got poop coming out, and that's how the process all starts here.
On average, how long do these manatees stay here for care?
Well, we had 2 animals that got moved out of here yesterday, okay? And they were both UME animals, sideways swimming, skinny animals. And we moved them to our back pool, which is a little bit deeper and is not a critical care pool. So those guys, I would say at least another 2 to 3 months of eating romaine with periodic weights and periodic blood sampling to check on how well they're doing.
Look
These
out
guys
there
are so freaking strong, man. They roll over on their backs. They can touch their paddle and their nose together like
Why did
this, super fast.
And they can come for you with that tail. I've seen it.
Yeah, so they are not actively trying to harm us. They're just
It's like a little freaked out.
they're a
They're
little
back
freaked
off.
out.
The
Yeah, they're
brown
like,
just
what the heck
moved.
is going on? I'm trying to get myself comfortable. I have no water. What the heck do I do right now? And you know what we're doing? We come dry with these guys. We're running a tube either down their mouth or through their nostrils into the stomach.
Listen, I want to punch people.
Okay, so we got to be really careful. We're not. I wish I could tell you that otherwise, but we got to be really careful.
I mean,
because you go
2,000
down.
pounds
Yeah, you
of
want to make sure. You got to
animal.
make sure every time, 100% sure you're not in the lung.
Yeah.
You know, because you can't pump water in the lung. It is not going to work. It's not going to end well. So we have to organize the manatees. Our team is they are amazing.
They do. And
They are.
And they're all in at once, and it's multiple people per manatee.
They all have
per
15
team.
plus years working in
And the manatees
rehabilitation.
are all getting different things in their tubes.
And it's just not manatees. We do dolphin rescue rehabilitation at a off-site facility that we have. We do birds. You know, we had 250 bird rescues last year. Gopher tortoises and then sea turtles. We brought in 50 sea turtles this year around Thanksgiving from the New England area when they got their first big cold snap. And I mean, I could talk about manatees all day, and I sometimes wish that was all we dealt with because that would keep us very busy, but we have a lot of other species that our team takes care of. We go through the proper protocols for naming these animals. But yes, the biggest one in here, Panini, right now, and we want to get her out of here as soon as we can. We keep talking to Dr. Duraco, but he wants her to put on like another 200 pounds.
Okay, but which probably, you know, sounds like a lot, but for a manatee, is that going to take this?
So we, about once a week, we drop this pool down. We go in there with the stretcher. We have the crane here, and we get weights on these guys because we're trying to get Panini out as our next one.
Oh, Panini, you look great.
And Panini right now is pushing right around 1,400 pounds.
Oh, Panini, you're beautiful.
But see the gas, these guys all day long.
All day, they park and park and park.
This is what they do. They eat, they poop. But you can see the ribs on this one. You can tell, even from someone who doesn't have a lot of experience. The ribs are exposed. The guys call her Mrs. Bones right now because she still have a lot of her ribs are showing.
Oh.
But this pool is 12 feet deep.
Okay.
All right. So I got to be really sure that I'm comfortable putting a manatee in here. So a lot of times with the new ones, we drop this pool low and slowly bring it up, get them acclimated. Because again, are they using all their muscles and everything in these pools? Probably not. You know, we're taking care of them. You know, but we're not giving them opportunities to swim deep because they're not ready yet. So once they get to that point, they got to start reconditioning their bodies to living in deeper water. And manatees, they do. You know, they're going to go where the vegetation can get light and grow. So they are more of a shallow water species, but. You know, this is what they do. They go down here, they eat off the bottom. Sometimes they'll pull stuff off the surface.
With the situation right now, especially with the equipment, do you all kind of give like an extra grace period of like an extra like 400 pounds or something in case because you know that there's less food there right now?
Yeah, we our team does the everybody that works is involved in the ordering process, and right now we're pulling in an extra pallet a week right now, just with the influx of manatees that we're taking. So we're pulling in, if we need, most of our orders right now on Friday are about 300 cases of romaine lettuce. This is our manatee exhibit. This was, you know, one of the first things we did years ago was we gave people an up-close chance to see these manatees. Now this has really turned into almost like our romper room, our nursery that we have here.
I like that you got a preschool on site, right?
Yeah, so we have, in here right now, we have two very big animals that have been in our facility long before I started. Now these guys are not very high, and I think these are probably not going to be returned. You know, they've been around people way too long, but they're great ambassadors for the species. Now all the other ones that we have in here right now are smaller manatees. If we had an orphan calf from the East Coast, he's going to be released back onto the East Coast. And these guys, anything about these babies that we get up to that 600-pound range is that they're going to be returned in the wintertime, let's say at Blue Springs, where there's hundreds, if not thousands of other manatees there. Because these guys need to learn that migration patterns. They need to learn where that warm water is during the wintertime. You know, the same thing could be said for like Crystal River on the West Coast. It's a warm water spring where hundreds and hundreds of manatees go 2-3 weeks ago. I mean, the weather's getting a lot warmer, so they're starting to disperse. But this gives them a location that they can go know where that warm water supply is. And they'll also have a satellite tracking tag on their paddle, so we know exactly where they're going. We know where if they're eating the right food. And every time we release these youngsters like this, sometimes it's not positive stories. There's been a couple this year that didn't do great. They weren't in a great location. We had to bring them back into the facility. I was just going to
ask, did they ever get off track? And you think, okay, you know what, they weren't ready.
They weren't ready. We brought them back into the facility, and we're giving another shot at next winter during that time.
Can I ask, is there like a regimen for food other than lettuce, or is lettuce just the best? Like,
romaine
why is it
lettuce
always lettuce?
Romaine has the highest calorie count.
Oh, even though it's so much water?
Compared to iceberg, leaf, yes. So we do have dates in here right now because of some of the few of the little ones that we just put in here. We've been in here for a couple weeks right now, and we also have some in here that are still getting bottles. You know, that's the first step when we get these orphan calves in here. Is we got to treat them for 3 hours around the clock, and then from there we transition them onto bottles for a couple of years until we start making lettuce for them. But it's just like with any baby, you know, you got to make sure that they're putting calories on and growing, and that's the number one thing with these little guys is to make sure they're continuing to grow, and they grow at a very, very fast rate.
Yeah.
So we still get in here with some of the more critical ones, and we can manage them on this side, be able to do weights with them with the crane, and kind of make sure they're going in the right direction with their weight gain. But the ones, once they get used to the bottles, the guys come in here and we do 2 bottles a day right now. I think we went down to 1, just to help supplement weight gain with these guys. So once they get to this stage, it is just a matter of keeping up on the lettuce all day long. Sarah and Oakley are 2 big females that we have in here, and last weight on those guys were right about 2,600 pounds.
Almost, yeah, wow. Jeez.
Now, do we bring them in rescue-wise that size? Typically we don't. You know, it's based on formula of the size and girth and everything like that, and also you know, their overall health, blood parameters on the blood sampling. You know, and that's where our vet team comes in. That's where our lab comes in. We run everything in running out.
How do they take them there?
We fly them.
In a plane?
Yes.
With water? Or how do they
We fly them in
survive
a
that?
heavily padded foam box with a vet and several attendants.
And just like little air holes?
Yeah, I mean,
and, like,
when we got into
spray
it,
'em or
the
something,
last ones we
or-
just ran up a couple months back were to facilitate more space for us, and DHL stepped up and did all the legwork for us on that, getting the planes
Wow.
ready and everything. So that was a great story, and that was our
they
first big
usually
step
are
that we
able
did.
to survive that transport? I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like I'd be stressed.
Well, no, I mean Columbus and Cincinnati, Columbus
it's not
Zoo
that
and
far.
Cincinnati Botanical Gardens have been housing manatees for several years now.
Yeah.
I mean, they take these little ones that are off of bottles and it just need time to put weight on and grow, and they go up there as a halfway house. And then when they get to that point where they start getting closer to 600, DHL will fly them back for us. We'll get them back in here and get them ready for the release.
Gotcha.
Because again, we have, close to 30 manatees in house right now, so space is a concern.
Yeah, definitely.
We've never turned down an animal coming into our facility.
Wow.
So we have had animals come up from the Keys, and I've not gotten here until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So we got to then have teams coming in here, and that's fine. I know my team will always be here.
It's like an emergency.
But sometimes I do feel bad when I bring a vet in at 2 o'clock in the morning to receive a manatee, because every time a manatee comes in, for any animal, we try to have a vet here to do the intake exam with it, you know. Filtration in general just so much goes into the care for these guys. You know, the vets, the labs, the staff, the water quality teams. There's so many different people within SeaWorld that is involved in the overall care. Yesterday, a manatee named Duncan that they found on a dirt road up around Crystal River.
What?
A very high tide pushed him out of his habitat onto the road. Okay, so there was a gentleman.
It comes out in and out from over there really fast.
There was a gentleman by the name of Duncan that lived in that area that actually found him one morning in the road, and I saw the pictures of this manatee sitting on dirt road. So he was a pretty quick turnaround case. You know, he was an animal that potentially could have gone maybe right back in the water there, but on the safe side, he spent a couple weeks with us, and Duncan was named Duncan because of the individual that helped him. Because typically our names take
I bet he was
good
so
amount of
stressed
time.
after that he needed a couple weeks
Yeah.
of R&R. No, tide.
Yeah, tide.
Probably a king tide and a heavy rain. It was a mixture that just flooded this area that he
So
was
a
in.
citizen.
Can you
found
imagine
him.
just
Yeah.
going out
They
for your
called
morning
it into
jog
FWC.
And
Yeah,
he
they
was
delivered him to
the
us.
gentleman that found him named Duncan. He had some.
Named after
He had some special. He was
He's a
special.
needs
Yeah,
individual.
yeah.
He
And
stayed with them.
yeah, he stayed there the whole time with his manatee until the state authorities got there. It was fantastic.
Oh, that's
So-
awesome.
So they just returned Duncan yesterday.
Yeah.
Did Duncan get to go?
Yeah, he went.
Yay!
So good. It was such a good story.
That's great.
But so they got everything cleaned out and everything's drying right now. But you know, you see the heavy pieces of foam. Okay, that gets layered on the bottom, and then we'll print the manatee into the stretcher, off the boat onto the tailgate, and then we kind of reach out. Hey, can you guys help us drag this manatee into the back of the truck? And then from there, it's a beeline back to the park, where we'll have a vet team waiting for us to administer, you know, the blood, the sample, and all
Okay, and
that.
I just am very, you know, I don't have enough science background to really
Yeah.
help anybody with anything ever. They have to stay damp like the whole
That's
time
what
that
I
they're
asked that too.
okay?
We have sprayers in there.
Okay.
And in the winter time, when it's cold, we have heaters and
To
stuff in there.
regulate that,
get
regulating the
yeah, we'll
temperature
keep
is
it
the
nice and
biggest
warm and
issue.
put blankets on them.
Okay.
In the summertime, we'll keep them wet just to help keep them cool down a little
Really?
bit.
They're mammals, so. So these are some of our residents.
So I'm gonna warn you guys to be ready to get with those flags, okay? Now we do not, my team does not care for these dolphins. These are in-house dolphins that have always been at SeaWorld. These guys come back here and also been in the shows with the dolphin encounters.
Okay.
Wow, they're so interesting.
So we have two dolphin pools back here, and right through those doors is the dolphin stadium and also the dolphin encounters area, which is another big pool. We move dolphins around to different areas at times. So are they back here all the time? No, but sometimes just depending on social sittings or
Like
other
getting
stuff.
a checkup.
Yeah, we do house them back here.
Are you seeing more and more often the common cause of non-releases are
Jealous
due
of your
to
office is what we are.
pollution or the sounds that we're administering from like
I can't.
working underwater?
I don't know why, but I can tell you a lot of our non-releasables in the past 5 years has been due to lack of hearing. I mean, let me tell you, we do not bring in dolphins nearly at the capacity that we do manatees.
Right.
We had, I think, one dolphin rescue that was in-house last year, and that animal went up to Clearwater. Now, granted, dolphins and other cetaceans that beach are beaching because they're going to die.
Right.
Okay, they're extremely ill, extremely hurt, and a lot of times, even bring them to a facility, there's a chance that sometimes they won't make it because of what they've gone through. So this pool also has a false bottom in it. Okay, we don't have the cables hooked right now, but we can also put critical manatees in here. We try to keep this pool empty as much as we can because when we get late night arrivals in, and we don't want to have the crane in place, we can take them right into this pool. Now, we just took the gate out yesterday because we did move 2 males over to this section that had been eating really well and are floating more normal, so we did bring them into this pool.
So these are both males?
We have, these 2 pools are connected right
Buddy.
now. Once we bring them into these bigger pools, a lot of times we will put microchips in their shoulders like you would your dog or your cat, just to help for identification purposes with these guys. And that's also a requirement before they get released. These guys, every manatee that we have that gets released has a microchip in its shoulder.
It makes me feel so much better because I had that thought about, like, I wonder what happens
So
when they
this
get back
way,
in and they're not
if
ready.
they find somebody and they can't determine who it is, they always had that fallback that they could. And sometimes that actually plays into account. We've had a lot of animals die, this year. So if the carcass is not in good enough shape, for identification, and believe me, these biologists know these manatees just by looking at them on paddle shapes. They can also look at the microchip on them and go into the database.
So we understand some more about what's going on.
If it just started in March, they brought in
23
23
all of
manatees.
2022.
Just
Yeah.
2022. So they start the count over. Each manatee, like when Brant is saying this is number 21 or this is number 23, the full number is actually 22, 21 or 22, 23. We have a lot of manatees here that are 21, 40 or 21, 10. So Duncan that we were talking about, the little guy, he was 2201. He was your first rescue of the year.
That's right,
for 20. So if they're at 23 for the year, then you can figure that they brought in about a dozen in January and a dozen in February.
So these are all New England turtles. These are all Kent Ridleys that we got in.
Temperature shock.
They were all cold stunts.
And their species
Sounds like they must my own.
Very highly endangered.
Oh my gosh.
Good news is 10 of these guys have been cleared. They're going back out on Friday. We already released, I think, 7 or 8 of them about 2 weeks prior to that. So we're at that phase right now where they're all eating very well, just putting weight on.
So they came from New England, but it's okay to put them back
Yes,
here?
so
Atlantic
when that
Ocean.
big cold snap hit up there around
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, they should have been heading south. Okay, a lot of them
So they might have
took
ended
off
up
south,
here anyway.
and they hit that horn.
Yeah.
So they're a little, maybe not thinking right because they're so cold.
Right.
They start heading south, but they end up hitting that big horn up in New England and just beach. There's turtles everywhere. And
So they're nesting.
yeah, we work with there's a great nonprofit,
Right.
Turtles Fly 2. They ended up there. They bring all these turtles down in planes. They stop off in the Panhandle, Miami, the Keys, Orlando, and they start dropping turtles because the facilities up there, they don't have enough space to handle all these turtles.
Turtles fly too.
Turtles fly too, yeah. So they
Yeah.
fly right into the Kissimmee Airport in these little planes that are owned by people, you know, and just donate their plane and their time to getting these turtles into rehab centers.
Wow.
Because they run out of space so quick up there, especially during the pandemic. The labor pool wasn't great, so we took in 50 of them, and that gave us enough space to also have room for Florida turtles. Because we do get several Florida turtles in too, but a lot of
Those are
times
more injuries?
Yeah, those are sometimes injuries, big loggers and stuff like that they find on beach. And we usually don't start taking those turtles in until they get to the point of capacity at these rehab facilities along the coast.